Murphy had a wife and son. What happened to them?
Well, after the funeral, she moved away.
Where did they go?
She thought you were dead. She started over again.
I can feel them. But I can't remember them. Leave me alone.
Leave me alone and don't touch me, he says. She's acting like she knows him.
Yeah, she knew him for what, less than 24 hours, I think.
Yeah, she asked him all these personal questions. He's dead. He doesn't know anything about his family alive.
It's
She's acting like she knows him.
To be honest, that is one of the more emo scenes of a robot. I don't know, it's up there with like Johnny Five and
Yeah.
I don't know, I just like Terminator in some ways.
Yeah. I also like the classic movie trope of like you're out of the vision of the person, you reach out, you do the reach out, the emotional. You
He's trying to get him.
You're not sure if you want to touch, and like he felt it.
Felt her
touch me.
presence.
Don't touch
He's got sensors.
ever.
Welcome back to the Last Row Podcast. This is episode 133. If you are new to the show or you're returning, check our website out, thelastrowpodcast.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, all the social channels at The Last Row Pod. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Please subscribe if you're not subscribed, and leave us a 5-star review if you're enjoying the show. Welcome back, Badway.
Yeah, well, it's great to be here. Yeah, tired. I don't know what movie we're doing.
You picked it.
I barely watched the movie we're doing. If we're going to be full disclosure, you people.
This was his choice for the record, by the way.
No, so full disclosure, we're doing RoboCop 1987 version. I watched this movie about 2 hours before we sat down to do the show, and fell asleep multiple times in between it. Had to rewind it 5 times. So I'm not sure what's going on, but we're going to get through this together.
Was the sleep lack of interest in the movie? Was
No.
it you were tired?
Old.
Like,
Sleep
right.
was due to old, and I've been up
Okay.
since 6 a.m.
so it has nothing to do with the quality of the film.
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
all right. We need
No,
to say
no.
that for the record.
Yeah, I like RoboCop. It was good. It's a good movie.
Okay.
No offense, Peter Weller. Weller?
Weller.
Is it plural? Is it more than one?
No, there
There's
may
just
be
one-
Weller,
there's
many
one-
Wellers.
There's one Weller. Okay. RoboCop, July 17th, 1987. There is no way that we watched this movie as kids because, man, is it violent.
My uncle wanted to show me this movie
Yeah.
way too young. He did. He showed me parts of it when I was way too young. But
Surprisingly, very little nudity. There's one flash. Yeah, there's very little nudity.
and it was like a utility nudity. It was
Yeah.
it was not like sexual in any
No.
way.
No, yeah, it was very surprising. Runtime 1 hour 43 minutes, just right. Maybe a
That's
little
about
too
right.
long.
Just right.
We can get into this movie in under 90. I
You
feel.
could shave off a couple.
Yeah, we could have shaved off a couple. Sci-fi action directed by Paul Verhoeven. Drew, do you know who
Yes.
Paul Verhoeven?
This is our second Verhoeven film, isn't it?
Yeah, yes it is. Yes it is. Basic Instinct, which was a surprisingly smash hit.
It was
on
the
Last Row
the
podcast.
F of a century.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite episodes. If you haven't
Yeah,
listened to our show,
Great,
go back and listen to that one. We had a blast putting Michael Douglas on blast.
great movie too. I mean, please
Great
go out and
film.
see it. Total Recall. He directed Showgirls and Starship Troopers.
Starship
and,
Troopers is a very underrated movie.
and Hollow Man.
Hollow Man, that is prime for the
Yeah.
Last Row treatment.
Yep.
Kevin
we haven't-
Bacon.
We haven't had Kevin Bacon on the show.
I actually want to do that one. We should definitely do that one. That movie is it's a good movie, and he's a
Yeah.
creep in that movie.
Yeah, oh yeah. And written by Edward Newmere. I probably butchered that.
I don't
Who
know who
wrote-
that is.
Who wrote like all the RoboCops, and he also wrote Starship Troopers. So
I like
pretty cool.
Starship Troopers. It's like it got a bad rap, but I feel like it's satirical on purpose. I mean, a lot of the Verhoeven movies are like that,
Yeah.
right? They're very, I don't know, they're layered. I guess maybe I'm giving them too much credit.
too much credit. IMDb 7.6 out of 10.
That's probably about right.
It's probably about right. Rotten Tomatoes 91%.
Probably about right.
Maybe a little too high. Who knows?
Too high?
Metacritic 70%.
That's about right.
Letterboxd 3.9 out of 5.
I'd give it a 4.
I mean, it's pretty close to too high, but I'll allow it.
You'll allow it. Yeah.
If it was a 4, I'd say ridiculous, but 3.9, we're fine.
It's no Spider-Verse.
Yeah. In a violent, near-apocalyptic Detroit evil corporation, Omni Consumer Products. What do you feel? I don't like that name. It's a bad
OCP.
name. Let's just call it OCP.
Yeah.
Wins a contract from the city government to privatize the police force. To test their crime-eradicating cyborgs, the company leads street cop Alex Murphy into an armed confrontation with crime lord Bod Dicker, Red Foreman, so they could use his body to support their untested RoboCop prototype. But when RoboCop learns of the company's nefarious plans, he turns on his masters.
Masters.
Now listen, did they lead him into an armed confrontation? Like, did I miss something? This was not a setup, right?
You couldn't say that it was, but it wasn't. Like it wasn't shown. It wasn't shown.
Nobody forced him into that warehouse.
They didn't have to go
1 on 10.
Well, what they kept saying was, "Oh, backup's not there. Oh, we can't. We're too far out. We can't send backup." So maybe they're implying that, hey, they wanted them to go in, but they made the choice to go in. They could have just left and said, "We can't go in here without backup," which we need to talk about in detail later. But
yeah,
I don't think anyone like cat and moused him in there. At least to me.
Yeah,
so,
I don't know. Unless I'm missing something, please let us know if our entire podcast is a sham. But I don't.
We'll hear about it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Send us an email, thelastropodcast@gmail.com. But did you have any attachment to this movie growing up? Like, I didn't see this until I was significantly older, and I think I saw RoboCop 2 actually before I saw the first one. Maybe even 3.
As a child under 10 in the 80s, the idea of RoboCop was cool.
Yeah.
But I never came anywhere near seeing the movie. But obviously, cops are cool to kids and robots are cool to kids. So RoboCop is like as a cool thing.
You combine them both.
You play the Nintendo game. Maybe you have a toy. I didn't have any toys, but the idea of it is certainly cool and can be marketed towards kids.
Well, they definitely did market it towards kids because there was the cartoon as well, which I think we were just looking up right before we hit the record button here, and I was just sort of reminiscing on one of the toys that I had, which was this glow in the dark RoboCop figure that, you know, when you pulled it up to the light and then it turns green in the dark. I had a bunch of the Ghostbusters like that, and I had specifically a RoboCop toy of this.
Right.
And there's a YouTube channel that I follow called Secret Galaxy where they talk about like 80s and 90s cartoons and whatnot, and they just did one on how this marketed like, you know, all kinds of subtext to children. It's a very heavy thing, right? It's like when you think about the movie, because it's about corporations and all of these other things, but I didn't see this until I was much older, but I just remember RoboCop 2 and RoboCop 3. My uncle, who showed us Time Cop, we talk about this a lot on the show, he would always talk about RoboCop, and I've seen parts of it on the Hotbox at HBO and stuff, but I didn't watch it until I was significantly older.
Yeah.
So
like I feel like I had this idea of RoboCop as just this cyborg, this cool cyborg, not this poor guy who got all of his limbs shot off.
Yeah.
You know?
My favorite meme is like, I keep seeing this meme come in where it's RoboCop. It's like, gets injured at work, makes him go back to work anyway. And it's like, you know, dies, goes back to work anyway. Like basically it's the truth. So in 2023, let's see, taglines. All right. Only 2 today. The future of law enforcement.
Oh,
it's kind of too straight. I don't know.
I kind of like it.
How about part man, part machine, all cop?
All cop. It's like, like I like it, lame. like I get it, but I'm also doing the Jagoff movie.
Yeah, he really is. Budget, so it was about 13 mil, which actually is pretty low.
But there's some cool explosions in this movie too, and a lot of car accidents and car flips.
Stop animation of Ed 209. It's kind of
that was pretty bad, wasn't it? I don't know. It was kind of bad, but maybe that's just because
it's 87.
I'm so removed from the 80s.
It was. I thought the vibe of it looked really cool, but 13 mil was a lot less than what I would have expected for what it was. And then it returned cumulative worldwide gross about 53.4 million, which is You could say that's a pretty big hit for what it was. It's an R-rated movie. I know in
Sure.
the 80s, like R-rated movies were like, it's not like they're, oh my God, it's going to be R instead of PG-13, but it did well. I think this was
Yeah.
received well. Obviously, you saw the scores here.
Like
So-
I don't know like what did Lethal Weapon make, but in comparison, but I bet it wasn't that much more.
I can't remember. We'd have to check it. It got Oscar buzz too. So there's all kinds of awards that this movie is famous for. There was Academy of Science and all kinds of other ones, but I just called out 3 of them. So it has 2 nominations for Oscars. So it had Best Sound and then it had Best Film Editing. I didn't check who it went against in 1988 Oscars, but then it also won a Special Achievement award for sound editing, sound effects, which I thought was really good. Like
That's fair.
it's a well-made movie, put it that way.
Yeah.
So,
By the way, Lethal Weapon made $120 million.
Okay, 120.
Yeah, just a year prior. So it did lap it, but
it's
still.
a different kind of movie. I mean, this is a
Yeah.
hyper-violent, like,
You're talking about R-rated cop movie. I guess sci-fi is a little more niche
yeah,
or niche, depending on if you're an asshole.
where you hail from.
from whence you hail. Yeah.
But I mean, this is a hyper-violent movie, and I know that is, it's a comedy. It's a buddy cop comedy that's rated R, but it's got Mel Gibson and Danny Glover. Like, who is
Star
Peter
power.
Weller? Buckaroo Banzai? Like, we talked about this a little bit, and there really isn't like a ton of huge guys in here. You got Quigley from Blank Check as well. So
Well, yeah. I mean, not at that point. Not
Return-
At that point. Yeah.
return of Quigley. So let's just jump right into this thing. So this movie is set in. They try to say it's the future, but it's also sort of the present. Like, it didn't seem super futuristic. They're driving Ford Tauruses, right? Like, it's not
Yeah.
like a.
They're just saying it's the future so that you can believe that they have the robot technology.
Yeah,
But
it's
they
like
changed nothing.
it's dystopian Detroit, right?
Yeah.
So we've done some other movies on this show. And I want to maybe I'll call some of these out, and I'm curious about how you feel this dystopian Detroit compares to some of these other societies. So like the one that first comes to my mind is Demolition Man, because that's an episode that we've done. Like, how did this compare to that to you?
Well, I feel like Demolition Man, the crime was almost non-existent though, and secluded only to the sewers, right? And then Dennis Leary and his crew of rats would come out and do graffiti or some bullshit like that, and not actually do anything. Crime didn't exist until Simon Phoenix became woken up, right? I feel like maybe Predator 2.
Predator 2 is
with
a good
the
one.
gang warfare going on. It's like you don't want to be anywhere near that city.
Yep.
And I felt like this Detroit felt like Predator 2.
Yeah. Demolition Man is the exact opposite of this.
Yeah.
Predator 2 is a really good comparison. And then also Running Man, I felt like too, was because they had the underground Los Angeles or whatever, which was where they had all of the, the guys that they threw in there. That was a good one.
The similarity to Demolition Man to me is that they wanted to eradicate crime like Demolition Man did. And they were, if you have a couple of RoboCops out there, then likely they would have succeeded, right?
Yeah. Well, it's funny when Morton was like, we're projecting the end of crime in 4 months. It's like, how can you project the end of crime?
It's pretty lofty.
RoboCop?
The end of crime.
The end of crime.
Are you serious, bro?
We eradicated it.
And if they did it with good intentions, like they could have ended crime. But
They could've.
why did the greed have to seep in?
Because it's corporations, man. Yeah. I mean, speaking of corporations, you see, like, did you like? And I guess Verhoeven is very famous for this. He weaves in like different commercials and stuff. Like Starship Troopers does it a little bit too.
Yeah.
But there was 3 corporate commercials, and the one that was my favorite was Nukem. It was like a battleship board game.
Yeah, with the Nukem, the father was like, "Oh, no more funding for you." It's like we're having a full-on financial and physical warfare going on with the family. I'd play that game.
It looked like Battleship, but on steroids. And then how about the Family Heart Center, where they had like these fake hearts where they were putting them into people, and it was like it was well done. Like, I liked the fake commercial.
Hey, with warranties. Yeah,
exactly.
They come with warranties.
And would you be in the market for a 6,000 SUX for your vehicle, for your next car?
I mean, if Red Ford was just going to shoot at it as soon as I get it, then what's the point?
6,000 sucks. Pun intended. And then I also liked the portrayal of like the news media, where I thought the guys, the guy and the lady that played the news anchors did a
Yeah,
great job. It
that
was very
was good.
believable.
Yeah. And yeah, that kind of had like a Predator 2 feel to it as well. And
It
Predator 2 came after this, obviously, so it's
Right.
not like, it's opposite, but yeah, no, now that I think about it, a lot of similarities to Predator 2. It's strange.
And you mentioned this a little bit as well in the synopsis, but talk about the privatization of the police force. So OCP is this corporation that's taking over everything, and they're this like multi-conglomerate where the one that Bob Morton, who is the one that does the RoboCop program, has like a specific, almost like a subsection company of OCP. And I know that gets expanded in other movies. So if you're a RoboCop fan, please don't beat me up or Badway up. We're going to look at RoboCop 1 in a vacuum. We're going to pretend the sequels don't exist for this conversation just because we don't want to get into the lore of that. We'll do those movies at a future date.
Right.
But the police force is privatized in this. And I saw a piece of trivia that made me laugh a little bit. And I don't mean to laugh at this, but maybe you'll laugh too. But it said, writers and producers were concerned that cops would be offended by their portrayal in the movie. On the contrary, they loved it. They especially enjoyed the scene where RoboCop throws Boddicker through 3 panes of glass windows while concurrently reading him an abbreviated rendition of his Miranda rights. And I was like, I bet they did.
I bet they loved it. Woo! Police brutality. Yeah.
I was like, I bet that they did. That was one I just like, especially when he was reading the rights. I mean, any movie you watch in the 80s was kind of like that, but it made me laugh a little bit.
You have the right to remain dead. Woo! Yeah, shoot him first.
I mean, I was kind of rooting for him anyway myself because hey man, Boddicker sucks.
Look, listen, man. Like I don't know if body cams existed in the 80s, but the fact that RoboCop had recordings of at all times of what he was doing, it's probably scared cop shitless back in the 80s. Where it's like, whoa, can they do that? Is that coming? We can't have that.
Yeah, it goes two ways, right? He's recording everything that all the dirty people are saying, but he's also recording everything he's doing. He is a body cam, basically, which is true.
Darking on himself.
Let's talk a little bit about corporate life at OCP, man.
I wouldn't work there.
What I was going to ask you, would you want to work there?
No, it's too dangerous. You
don't want that executive lounge. You get that card, you go in there, you get your own little private bathroom and everything. They still didn't have the stalls that went to the floor, though.
No, yeah. What's going on there? Why? It's like there was no luxury in that private bathroom. It's just that. Just let me ask you this: if you have a lesser the job title, does that mean you piss all over the floor?
I guess.
So you're less likely to piss all over the floor if you have access to the corporate bathroom, because that's the only difference.
Yeah, that bathroom, it looked sort of like a gym bathroom in that it had like a section for the sinks that was separated by the 2 urinals.
Yeah,
but. Man, they should have had those stalls that we were talking about, like the European ones, where it's like a country club where you get your own little room.
It should, they're dropping the ball there. Like, what's the point of that card?
And you said this on a previous episode. What'd you say, right? You don't mind if people see your shoes. Right. That guy should have looked at the guy's shoes. He would have known not to talk shit on his boss.
Clearly, his boss has, standout shoes.
The guy was in there.
If you're gonna talk shit, you got to take a peek.
That guy was in there taking a dump, and this guy Bob Morton is just talking all kinds of shit on the number 2 of the company, calling him a pussy, calling him all these names. The first moment he steps in this executive room, it's like
through caution to the wind. It's like so it's always you talk the shit and then you hear the flush and then you're like.
And everyone filtered out of that place. Yeah, everybody filtered out of that place.
The other guy pissed his pants because he was trying to get out of there so fast.
He needed calico cut pants. They don't make calico cut pants for him.
Yeah. It comes like this.
He did not give. Yeah. All I'll say is like just this guy is an amateur. Like he winds up jockeying for power, and it just seems. I mean, we got to talk a little bit more about OCP, but. There are HR violations out the ass up here.
Yeah, man.
People dying in a boardroom.
I would decline those meetings, man. You can't go to those boardroom meetings if they're going to be testing weapons at the boardroom. Are you kidding me?
First off, how does that massive machine not fall through the floor? Like this thing is the hugest thing ever.
You're questioning the structural integrity of OCP headquarters?
I am. And I'm questioning, like, how did they even get it up there? And it's like walking in through a boardroom.
Did they build it in the room to the
They
right,
must
or
have.
did
They assembled it.
They transfer it up there? Yeah,
They must have assembled
the
it.
thing can't take steps, so I don't know how it got up the steps.
They fly it with a helicopter or
I
something.
don't know. Is there a service elevator? That we don't know about. I don't know.
So if you guys haven't seen this movie, the sort of, well, if you haven't seen this movie, you should watch it. It's on Amazon Prime right now, so go check it out as of June 2023.
Make sure you're watching the 87 version,
Yes.
not the 2014 version, which isn't bad. But.
It's not bad. I like that movie, but it's not the OG. But this movie sort of centers around these two dueling programs. There's this number 2 guy who is working at OCP, and he wants to sell this thing called Ed 209, which is sort of like basically an unmanned machine that's going to go do military contracts. And then you got Bob Morton, famously known as the Return of Quigley from Blank Check on our show, who wants to turn a dead cop into some type of RoboCop. He's got these programs, and they both think that they're going to take over. Smartest economic move for this company was probably Ed 209, don't you think?
Yeah, I think
It's a
we need to
moneymaker.
expand on that. Yeah, the only problem is, like I said, throughout even to this day, we can't teach robots to walk up and down steps.
True.
It just trips them up. No pun intended. It just trips them up. They can't figure it out. If you're trying to get away from them, all you got to do is put steps in front of them. If you have yourself a little step ladder, you just set it up there like a booby trap. It'll fall. It'll fall over, and then you're free.
Man, I think we talked about this on the show before, but I always feel bad when you watch those like Boston Dynamics videos and the people are just knocking the robots.
It's pathetic. It's real pathetic. Or like the famous video of Philadelphia where the unmanned robot was on the loose and they just beat it. Because like
bad.
The robot's coming over to take over our city. No way, F that. No. But like I feel like you have to program these robots to if they start to fall, they just shoot wildly. You know?
Yeah.
As they're tipping over, just have them shoot wildly.
You got to pull a Raymond Calitri.
Yeah,
You're going down.
So it's like they can still get you as they're tipping.
Well, that thing had some big guns on it too.
I have 2 questions about this boardroom. So they bring the robot out to like test it, right? So they said, so here's this gun, which by the way is loaded. Here's this loaded gun pointed at the thing.
Probably shouldn't have done that.
And it'll tell you we'll show you what it does. So the guy at the boardroom in his nice suit in front of 12 other people in nice suits points the gun at the robot. Robot tells them to put the gun down. Very intimidating. Everybody's scared. He puts the gun down. Robot still says, "Hey, why aren't you complying?" Which is exactly what cops do to this day.
Yeah.
True.
It's a telling thing.
Very scary. Very scary.
Is.
You're not complying. I'm complying.
1987,
sure?
man. They knew.
Yeah. So the robot malfunctions. Everyone's scrambling to get it to work. There's no kill switch, Drew. There's no kill switch.
Oh, there's a kill switch, but not a kill switch.
But of course, there'd be blanks in the gun and the bullets, right? They wouldn't have live rounds with the robot, would they?
Why not? There you
this
go.
This guy gets the second most brutal murder in the movie, which is saying something.
You know
How many
the
times
word,
is he shot?
You know the word obliterated?
Yeah.
Like, I know there's a TV show coming out by the Cobra Kai creators called Obliterated. That guy was obliterated.
Yeah.
He was vaporized.
Yeah. Like he
was obliterated.
50 bullet holes. It's like I wish I don't want to test this in reality, but I want to test this in reality. If you're shooting someone that many times, does the body really stay up that long for it to take all the shots, or does it fall immediately?
That guy, I mean, he might as well have disintegrated. Like that's how much this guy was shot, and it was like blood everywhere. And the people in the room are kind of like horrified, but then the other guy's like, "Oh, this is great! Now I can
make money off this.
Yeah, now I can make some money off this."
Yeah.
And people weren't fazed. Like they were mad, but this guy was like one of the friends. It was like 3 friends. It was almost like a tripod.
No,
this guy's dead.
If you remember, the thing had a target on the guy with the gun, right?
Yes.
So he was trying to hide, and people were like, "Get away from me!"
Yeah.
They weren't scared for themselves; they were just scared to be like associated with what the thing
was going to do
to him.
It was crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like I just thought that like obliterated. That's the only word I can think about. Like it's the perfect
brutal.
use of that word. It was brutal murder.
It was. I don't get squeamish at movie violence, things like that, right? It was uncomfortable.
Yeah, that was
it was legitimately uncomfortable to watch how many times this guy got shot by this robot.
well.
And it was the second worst scene in the movie.
Yes, I was just gonna say like this is where if you've never seen this movie, like Verhoeven's like, you think this is gonna be just like an action movie? All right, get your shit ready because this sets the tone for what this movie is. I mean, it is brutally violent and it's like they do not hold back. So this guy gets murdered in the boardroom, and then Bob Morton starts to use this as an opportunity. So I wanted to mention this because we talked about Ed 209 and the number 2 at the company who was sort of trying to take over. He had this Ed 209 thing and he was going to set up military contracts, maintenance plans. Basically, he didn't care if this thing worked at all. It was a money revenue stream for the company.
Sure. Perfect.
And honestly, economically, it made a lot of sense.
That's how business is done.
Exactly. You start a maintenance plan. But because of this brutal murder, the old man, right? I think that's even his name.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't even have a name. He's called the old man.
Yeah, the Vince McMahon of this company.
Yeah, basically listens to this other dude's presentation. And have you ever been in a situation at work, I don't know, where it's like he got his shot, right? This is the CEO of this company. And he's like, I'll listen to you. Have your presentation ready in 20 minutes. Like, is that guy ready? Like, is he ready with his team?
He was born ready.
He was born ready. Quickly, man. Give him a blank check. That's all I'll say. But
I appreciate the guy. I appreciate Quigley's. What's his name? We'll call him Quigley.
His name is Bob Morton.
Bob Morton. I appreciate his go get it attitude.
It is.
He
Quigley,
wants it.
Right?
He wants it. He wants it. He deserves it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And like he took his chance and he had to go for it. So
he didn't sabotage the Ed 209. It just or did he? I don't know. Maybe he did.
Maybe he did. I don't know. They didn't say. So if let's say you're the boss, right? You're the big boss. What do you think is a better approach? RoboCop or Ed 209 at this point, right? You've seen the presentations. Now this guy killed somebody. This thing malfunctioned, but you know what RoboCop is. Like the stigma around turning a human or a dead cop into this robot. Like, I don't know. It must have been a great presentation, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like having RoboCops out there would be better for public, morale, public control than a lifeless killing machine, right? With guns for hands, right?
But you could argue that Murphy is also a killing machine too, like because he has skin on his face.
Yeah,
he's human.
It's exactly it. He's human looking,
part human.
Yeah, you'd rather deal with a human looking thing than a machine that looks like it's designed to kill. Even though yes, RoboCop is also designed to kill, but he's also designed to arrest and reason and protect.
Well, let's talk about Murphy. Let's talk about Murphy and the untimely demise that this guy goes through. So the movie opens up and you see the Detroit police precinct and you see all these cops and OCP has a contract with them. So they're basically telling the cops what to do. Now they're still city employees and all this stuff, but you see Murphy get transferred to this new precinct and he gets paired up with this other cop named Lewis. Now, you said this to me before we hit the record button, and I thought this was an interesting thing. They set this up to mean like Murphy, he's like a beat cop, right? Like he's on the beat. He's a street cop.
Yeah.
But they make you think that he's like some great cop. Now, are him and Lewis actually good cops? Like I'm not sure that they are.
I don't know. Well, the only clue that we have that Murphy's good at his job is that he's good at twirling his gun, right?
Yeah. Like the show that his son watches.
Right. So that could be a little distractor to like, we don't know if he's good or not. We haven't seen him in action. We didn't see him like in scene 1, bust a bunch of guys and do a great job at it, right?
Should they have done that?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe set him up as, okay, this guy is legit. Like you would like a Riggs or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? No, all this guy's doing is twirling his gun. That's show move. That's like saying I'm good at the gym, but in a fight I'll get beat up. It's same deal.
What about the girl?
The girl, I don't know. The girl, they showed her. They showed her actually kick somebody's ass.
She was pretty good.
Precinct. Yeah. So at least she can stand up for herself, and at least she can win a hand-to-hand battle. We don't know that about Murphy.
But I could use more.
But their decision making is like, oh my god,
dude. So the thing is, they're going after Boddicker, who's known as the cop killer. We'll put him through the villain scale in a second, but
He's played by Red Foreman.
Red
just to be
Foreman.
clear.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if this was on purpose or not, but I couldn't tell if it was a setup, like you said earlier in the synopsis. Like, was it really a setup? But they wind up in basically his hideout and lair, which is this abandoned like steel mill or something.
It's
It looked
pretty
like
sweet.
it looked like the steel stacks here, which was
Yeah.
pretty good. But they get to the place and they're calling for backup, and they're saying, "Oh, we can't send backup." So Murphy throws it to Lewis and says, "Hey, well, it's your call." Like, they didn't seem nervous at all. They're
No.
in this guy's turf, and they're like, "Oh, let's just go in with a little pea shooter."
And, which, by the way, they were just in a firefight in a car chase with these people before, so they know that there's about 10 of them.
Yep.
And they know that they're heavily armed with automatic weapons and shotguns. So they know that they're outgunned and outmanned.
And they went into their lair.
And they went into their lair where the bad guys have all the hiding places.
Yeah.
Right?
They probably have hiding places. They probably have rocket launchers. They probably have giant 50 cal rifles. They probably got a lot of stuff. They probably got traps.
Yep.
And they're like, "Oh, let's go in here." And the other thing that stood out to me as well was, I remember the idea of this movie. I got the impression that they knew each other more. But they've been, working less than 5 hours together?
It was their first day together, yeah. Absolutely.
I also think that it would have done a little bit more if they knew each other a little bit longer.
Yeah, Riggs and Murtaugh go into that building. They're coming out with 10 perps, all right?
Yeah.
Maybe 6 dead bodies and 4 perps, right?
Yeah.
But they're walking out of there.
Yeah. Yeah.
These two have no chemistry, right?
They don't even know.
The one girl gets the drop on her because she was caught looking at a dick, and Murphy gets caught because he forgets that there's 10 of them, and while he sticks up one, he forgets that he's probably surrounded, and he clearly was surrounded. So yeah, I mean, the instincts just for survival, Drew, just not there.
So I felt bad thinking this. Now you tell me if I'm a bad person for thinking this, but I don't want to say somebody deserves to die.
Deserve.
I don't want to say he deserves to die, especially the way that they brutally obliterated him. But I can't say that he shouldn't have seen it coming, doing that.
I can't say deserve, but death wish. Yes.
Yeah,
he had a thirst. He had a thirst for death.
He had a Charles Bronson going on right there.
He must not have loved his family all that much if he's going to risk his body like that. You could just not go in the warehouse. You just not go in.
No one forced them.
They're not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, they knew they were there.
Wait 15 minutes. The backup will show up.
And if backup never came, just stake it out and wait for those guys to leave.
You know where their lair is now.
It's stupid. There was no reason for him to go in there and get his body blown apart by shotguns. Yeah. It's so yeah. I mean, talk about this death. So you mentioned earlier that brutal boardroom scene was the second worst death in this movie. What was the first to you? Was it this?
Yeah, this right here. So they surround the guy. All of a sudden, Red Foreman shows up with his freaking 12 other guys.
The cop killer.
Yeah. They're all pointing shotguns at him. And what do? After teasing him for a minute, they blow off his hand in the most violent way ever.
That was so brutal.
And he's in shock. His hand's destroyed. Blow off his arm. Start shooting at his legs. And then they finish him off with a shot to the head.
And they were laughing the whole time.
Yeah, they were laughing and they were showing all the shots, and it was uncomfortable to watch.
Was it like borderline pornographic in a way?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it was.
It reminded me of like Hostel.
Yeah.
Like that kind of like violence, torture porn in a way.
Yeah, and it come to find out that it was worse, and they had to dumb it down to lose the X rating.
Yeah, there was an X rating originally, right?
I wonder if I watched the unrated version because it was pretty brutal what I watched. I don't know how it can get worse.
Yeah, they said, so I saw this on IMDb. It said there was also an extension of 2 seconds where Boddicker explicitly blows his brains out with a handgun that got taken out. And another scene was trimmed by a few seconds. The boardroom scene was also worse as well. But yeah, like the shotgun blast was really bad. They said they blew off his right arm at the shoulder with another shotgun blast. There was gore, all kinds of, it was really bad. Yeah. And I'm not one that typically, squirms at that. It was Very shocking. I
It was
felt
bad. Yeah, it was bad.
Did you find it weird when they had him in like the ambulance and they were like trying to revive him? I'm like, this guy's so
This
dead.
guy
Like,
has lost all of his blood, all of his limbs, a bullet to the brain.
was
He's
that
not
like
alive.
was that a charade or was
Yeah.
it like was that like on purpose? Like they were trying to revive him like as like a
maybe
as
he's
like a
hanging
joke?
on. He's one of those weird things where he's hanging on.
He got shot in the brain.
Yeah.
Like they blew his head off. Like
People
so,
survive headshots, but add to all the loss of blood. Yeah, it's
I'm
ridiculous.
sorry. Like,
But no, it wasn't a charade. He was. I think they were playing it straight. He was still alive.
you really thought that he was alive? I
Yeah.
thought it was like, hey, we got to
'Cause-
pretend that we're going to revive this
No.
guy for the RoboCop thing.
It was his point of view. We were seeing it from his point of view. He was
Man.
conscious the whole time.
I don't know how he was conscious from that. Like,
Yeah.
talk about it's like you watched episode 3 of Star Wars. It's like Darth Vader, he's like in the volcano basically. He's completely dismembered and like somehow he still lives and they put him in the suit. Like that's what that reminded me of. Like, how are you going to put this guy in this thing? Like he's completely
I don't know
obliterated, right?
how you got to make a RoboCop, Drew. I don't know. It's the movies.
I don't know. Yeah,
Movie
so
magic.
we need to talk about that in a second, but for the record, maybe the most violent scene that we've done on this show in 133 episodes,
Possible,
like hands
yeah,
down.
yeah.
It was pretty brutal. Let's talk about Peter Weller for a second. So we'll talk about the RoboCop and how they make him in a second, but I want to ask you this. Who did a better job as a robot? Arnold as the Terminator? And maybe we'll say Terminator 2 because he's more human in that, a
Yeah.
little bit more humanistic.
Yeah.
Or Peter Weller as the RoboCop. And why?
Arnold was better voice actor as a robot, but I feel like Weller was a better body actor.
I
As a
loved his
robot,
moves. His moves were
right?
great.
He had great robot moves. Yeah.
It was like
And-
he was doing the robot.
But that's the thing. RoboCop was meant to be more rigid, right? Whereas the Terminator was built to replicate humans.
human.
So Arnold didn't have to act like a bodily act like a robot that often, right?
Yeah.
So I thought Weller did a great job with his body acting, but voice acting,
Not so much.
not so much. I mean, there's a reason why Peter Weller's not a household name, I guess.
I feel that my favorite of his moves is how he would turn his body before he turned his head.
yeah,
And it
yeah,
was
it's
like
great.
very
great.
robotic. It was very well done. I got to give him credit for that.
Yeah, I read that he did a lot of extensive mime work.
Oh, really?
Where he studied mimes, and that's kind of where it started of him like learning to act like a robot.
It is very mime-like
Yeah.
in how he moves. You know, I was
Yeah.
thinking about how they pretend they're in the box.
Yeah,
Like
or
that's,
like kind of like maybe street performance, pop lock, that kind of thing.
I think he
like-
did a really good job.
Yeah, so it was a good call on him.
So is there some video somewhere of Peter Weller in 1987 like pop locking like it
Yeah.
on camera
with,
somewhere?
with the mime makeup and all that.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd
Like,
be great.
What's the
that'd be
audition like to be the
Yeah.
RoboCop? Like, do you have to pretend you're a robot? And like, how far did people take it? You know, like sometimes I'm thinking
Yeah.
about like the Johnny Drama
Yeah.
interviews and auditions. Like, imagine Peter Weller in the audition tape,
Yeah.
and who else did it, and like, how did they do it?
Or like
That's what I want to know.
like did he act like the kid from what you call it, from Grandma's Boy?
Yeah.
I am a robot.
You know what's funny though? Like I saw this too. So the suit cost anywhere from like $500,000 to $1 million just for the suit. And didn't you tell
Oh.
me it was like a wetsuit with like plastic on top
That's
of it?
what I read. I don't know if it's like that's legitimately what it was. I could be way off. I'm not. I don't have a source material. So
The other thing I thought was funny, and I feel like this is just over the top to me, but I saw that it said when Peter Weller was in costume, he remained in character in between takes. So whenever Verhoeven was giving him instructions, he only addressed him as Robo. And then Verhoeven found it too funny to take it seriously, and they dropped it after a couple of weeks. But like, do you need to method act as the RoboCop?
No.
I don't feel like it requires it.
that's annoying. I can't sanction that type of
Yeah.
fury, Drew.
I d-
can't.
I mean, I do. I would feel like
Yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones in that scenario.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like it's necessary. It's just
Yeah.
it's too much. You're doing
Yeah.
too
You don't-
much.
you don't because you don't have to go to a dark place, right? You
Right.
don't have to. I feel like you only do that with characters where you have to go somewhere.
Could you live in that suit, man? I don't think I could do it.
Too hot. Too hot.
It's too hot. I saw
Way
they
too
had
hot.
like an air conditioner in there or something too. He's losing 3 pounds a day,
Yeah.
which is like water
Well,
loss.
well, you know, he had some time off though when they put him in the car
That's true.
because like when the suit wouldn't fit in the car, so he went pantsless when they were driving scenes.
Like imagine it's like the newscasters that sit in
Yeah.
their underwear.
Yeah,
But like, imagine trying to drive a car with those legs on, you know, like how could you actually push the pedals? Like
Yeah.
sometimes you wear like thick shoes, you kind of can't feel your pedals. Like imagine wearing the RoboCop legs and try to drive like a Ford Taurus from 1987.
And speaking of Drew, like I got a problem with the car.
Yeah.
You can't give RoboCop a 1987 Ford Taurus.
For the record, one of the ugliest cars of all time.
Like you can't. He has to have a cool car. Now I know he's not established yet, and maybe I'm wrong. And maybe in RoboCop 2 they give him a cool new car,
Rookie cop.
a Robo car. And it doesn't need to be a Transformer. Like just give me a car with like maybe some guns on it.
Yeah.
And maybe like the flaps open like a DeLorean or something.
Yeah.
Like something cool and futuristic looking. Give me the Robo car.
Or
You
make
can't-
it like his color too.
Yeah. Or make it. Yeah. It has to be personalized. Like don't give him a Ford Taurus. Like it's enough.
Dude,
No offense to Ford Taurus, but like doesn't belong with RoboCop.
No, offense to Ford Taurus. That car is ugly as hell. I'm sorry. Like that car is straight up one of the ugliest looking cars I've ever seen in my life.
All 80s cars, and they're freaking boxed. It's just.
But that's an 80s car that tried to look futuristic and it didn't. It just looked stupid.
Yeah.
But I feel like, yeah, you're right. He should have also had some kind of cool motorcycle or something that flew. Like imagine if he was flying on like a flying motorcycle.
Didn't the reboot have a motorcycle?
I think
Am I
it
remembering
did.
that wrong?
It
I think
did.
he had a motorcycle.
He had like a Tron motorcycle.
Yeah, I think
and
so.
it looked awesome.
Yeah.
Like I for the record, I like the reboot. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
It's not the greatest movie ever, but I liked what they did with it.
Yeah, and we'll do 2 coming up. I'm curious to see if they give him a good car. Since he's established as RoboCop in 2.
I haven't seen it in honestly probably 30 years. So I
Yeah, it's
really
been
don't
forever.
remember.
I don't remember anything
it,
about it.
bits and pieces of it, and 3 too, which I know is not Peter Weller. But let's talk about his powers and his abilities. So they resurrected this dude for this program. They wiped his memory, and they made him follow 3 directives. Now, what do you think of these directives?
Directive 1, serve the public trust. Directive 2, protect the innocent. Directive 3, uphold the law.
Protect the innocent.
Directive 4, classified.
Yeah, classified. I like how Directive 4 was basically he can't go against OCP senior executives. And I'm pretty sure they called that out. So like, is it a pay grade, like a certain pay grade you can't go against?
You can. So Jane and HR,
like interns,
you can call her out and bust her, right?
Yeah.
You can't bust the CEO because it's just too high. It's too high and it's too hot.
Is it only guys that had access to that private, private bathroom?
Only guys that pee in the private bathroom are immune to Directive 4.
I still can't get over the fact that they didn't have that bathroom thing that goes all the way down. That's all. It's a sham.
There's two. It's not an exclusive club. If there were 8 guys in that bathroom, there should be 3 or 4 guys tops that have access to that bathroom.
Well, it's like a VP, so it's like Pearson Pierce or whatever it is from American Psycho. Like everybody was a VP there.
Too many EVPs. Too many. Too many EVPs. Yeah.
But I think the directives are interesting because it's like you think about iRobot and all that stuff. So they gave him these laws so that he couldn't do anything basically bad. Yeah. And unless he malfunctioned. But this was sort of the, hey, Ed 209 doesn't have that. Or maybe he did, I guess.
And it allows him to, protect the innocent, go after the bad guys, and also, as they proved while he was out of the streets, to go after the bad guys and not have an innocent person catch a stray. Like no innocent bystanders. You can't be reckless out there. So he's able to take a shot at someone and not care about injuring, an innocent. He's going to protect everyone.
So do you feel, and I was thinking about this as this was happening. So Bob Morton is the guy that wants a RoboCop initiative. But then you had the number 2 guy, Dick Jones was the guy's name. I forgot it earlier, but he was the one that wanted the Ed 209 one. Was Bob Morton, like, was he actually trying to do a good thing, even though it was still greedy? Like, his thing was he wanted to, make a lot of money, be a big wig and all this stuff. But do you think he did actually care about cleaning up the crime? Or it was like, well, I just want my program to win? Because he didn't need to, like, did he only do those directives so that he wouldn't malfunction and lose his job? Or did he actually care about doing, like, the right thing?
No, I don't think he cared about doing the right thing. I think he just wanted to win. Right.
Yeah. And
And
in order to win, that was how he did it.
Yeah, and if this works, then he wins twofold. But he just wants to be chosen. I think is really the first and foremost.
And the other dude, like that guy wasn't programming anything, so I don't know what the hell he did, but like that Ed 209 malfunction it just seemed like it was dumb luck. I guess.
But like, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was nothing nefarious going on, was there, with Morton? Besides shady business dealings, right? Like he wasn't trying to screw anybody over.
No.
Like as far as the public is concerned, like this RoboCop was designed to work safely.
It was going to work, right?
Yeah. No, so it's not like he was evil. He's just trying to win at business.
Dick Jones was the guy that was nefariously trying to take over, create all kinds of conspiracy stuff with Boddicker as
then he got in bed with Boddicker, right? So it's like this guy is painted like a villain, but really he's not. He's a scumbag. He's a scumbag businessman, but he's not an evil man.
No. Yeah. He was selfish businessman. He wanted to take over basically, but he wasn't doing anything nefarious that it seemed, right? He just, like you said, he wanted to win.
Yeah. And he put Directive 4 in there just to cover his bases in case maybe, somewhere along the way, somebody found out why RoboCop came to be. Maybe he was involved in getting Murphy killed. Maybe he was involved in the malfunction of the Ed 209. And if that came out, that's what Directive 4 is for.
Well, what was actually interesting is I don't know that he put Directive 4 in, because when RoboCop confronts Jones in the office, he says, I slipped in Directive 4 so that you couldn't mess with me. So I think he meddled with the program.
That's right.
It stood out, right? So I don't even know. Like, I actually think if you look at Morton, I think he was more of like a buffoon. Like he got cocky.
You're right. No, you're right. I got that wrong. I was
and Dick Jones was like he said, right? Don't mess with me. You're messing with the wrong guy.
Yeah.
And do you like when he like caressed his hair and he was like, you F with the wrong guy. And it's like, dude, don't mess with this guy.
It's pretty intimidating, to be honest. Yeah.
He really was. Like, I thought, man, he really did F with the wrong guy here. Yeah. He really did. So, but the directives were interesting. It was a way to keep him in line. What about his powers and his abilities? Like we talk about the accessories and all this stuff on the villain scale, but we don't really do the good guy gauge. And maybe this is sort of an unofficial good guy gauge, but what did you like about him? And is he invincible?
He seemed that way, right? Like the whole time I was thinking about Dumb and Dumber, right? He's got all that armor, and it's like, what if they shot him in the face?
He never got a scratch in the face.
He never got shot in the cheek, the chin. He was fine.
Don't you think he should have? He should have caught a stray there.
Yeah, give me some Arnold bullet makeup damage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But small budget. What are you gonna do? Maybe it was in his contract. The agent slipped it in there. We can't. My boy's face. We can't touch it.
You gotta maintain these perfect mouth features.
Yeah. No, he was bulletproof, and I like the damage he took. His body looked cool as it got. He had that shootout in the parking garage where all the cops were jacking him up. Like I thought the damage looked really good. He's got perfect target shooting. Shot through the lady's dress. Shot a guy in the dick, which is a real jerk move.
He was a rapist, though, so what a better thing to do than shoot a rapist in the dick. Eye
for an eye, right? Video evidence, full on body cam, which obviously thermal vision, and more importantly, he can climb up and down steps. Yeah. So that's not a problem with this guy.
I love when he was going down the steps and he realized that other thing couldn't. He just stood there and stared at it as that thing was pathetically screaming for its life, which was so funny that the thing had a voice. It sounded like a pterodactyl.
Yeah, why did it have animal voices?
Because why not, I guess.
That thing didn't deserve to win Ed 209.
Yeah.
What crappy robot.
Thing sucks. Yeah. So let me ask you this. Does he need to be charged and can he run out of batteries? Like, what's that about? Because he's in that station.
Yeah, is he plugged in this whole time? It's true.
They were monitoring him, but does he run out of power? Is that on the RoboCop wiki?
I don't know, because he sits in that chair and it's like, I guess he's hooked up to something, but they're monitoring his dreams, I suppose.
Why?
Just to see if there's something going on in there, because they're still not sure how much of Murphy is left, is alive in there, right?
I like to think that he had some type of nuclear thing in there or whatever that he was powered by, but he still had how much of him is left? How much is still organic? Because they made a comment that he eats this baby paste.
So So yeah, he does have a digestive tract,
Okay.
which I mean, partial. I mean, does that
So
drop
where does
down
he?
drop down to anus? I don't know.
Is there a toilet inside of the suit
Yes.
that he has to empty?
Is there a defecation
Yeah, like
compartment?
it's sort of like the colostomy bag or whatever
Yes,
they call it.
I wonder. Yeah,
Like imagine like a little
whose
tray
job
that
is
he pulls
that?
out.
Whose job is that?
It's like a tray that he has to pull
Yeah.
out, and they like dump it in the toilet.
It's like filled with motor oil and
Yeah,
poop. It's a good combo.
that stuff looked disgusting. It looked like crappy shit mixed applesauce is what it looked like.
So he's got that. He's got what else does he have? Is it a torso? He's got parts of his brain,
Which
he's
is
got
surprising.
Yeah. They said multiple organs, but I don't know which.
Like what?
Yeah,
Does
I
he
don't
have
know.
his balls? Does he
Yeah.
still have his
I
testicles?
don't know. I mean that could include sex organs. We don't know. We don't know.
I like to think that he has a robotic Johnson.
Yeah, he lost so much blood that it's not going down there anyway. Even
He's
if
got to
was
have the
there.
pump.
Yeah.
Like imagine that. And then how about the fact that they saved his left arm and they were so happy about it, and then Morton comes in, he's like, "Oh, get rid of that. We can't have that."
You just shout all over the doctor's victory because that's a hell of a victory to save the arm. That's great.
And then the lady was like, "Prep him for surgery."
Yeah.
She seemed so annoyed.
I felt bad.
I wonder, like, what did you think of his face? They sort of like, it seemed as almost his skin was like stretched out over this.
Yeah.
It looked very
For sure.
grotesque, didn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It was very grotesque.
Yeah. And like I don't remember, but like he didn't have eyebrows, did he? Because
No.
after he lost his visor, it was very strange.
I remember seeing something on IMDb that said that Verhoeven and I don't know if it was the director of photography, but him and one of the other guys were fighting over the fact that Verhoeven wanted that scene all the scenes with that to be well lit so you could see it, and the other guy didn't want it to be, and they kept fighting over it, and then Verhoeven obviously won, and they were happy with the way that it came out. I thought it looked really good, to be honest.
They still had the little bullet in his head too.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I think this movie looks really good for 1987. Like the effects were great.
Honestly, do you think it had something to do with Weller's agent?
Maybe
wanting a certain amount of face
like
time.
You got to see my face.
Yeah, right. I wonder
because it's odd, right? Like I'm thinking about Carl Urban as Judge Dredd. It's the same thing with Sylvester Stallone, right? In that one, Judge Dredd never takes his helmet off. Yeah. And in that movie, he doesn't have it on like the entire time.
Yeah, barely has a helmet on it. Yeah.
Because that character, you never see them without it. And then Carl Urban in the reboot, he never took it off. Yeah. And it's like, but that was cool.
In 1993, you're not going to have Sylvester Stallone in your movie and not have his face showing.
Right. So let me ask you this. Could you beat the RoboCop? And what would you try to do to beat this guy? Because he seems unbeatable.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, is he fast? He seems slow, right?
He's slow.
I feel like he could just run away. Like, he could shoot you, but like, is he going to shoot you in the back for petty crimes?
I guess he'll track you, though. He's going to track you. But does he have tracking?
Does he have tracking?
Like, he had a targeting system.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like, what if he just ran really fast?
Yeah, you got a zigzag. But you can't now. Like, he's going to shoot you. Like, if he's going to shoot you, he's going to get you.
He'll probably shoot you in the knee or something.
But, like, is he programmed to shoot like a thief? Like, if I was stealing candies from 7-Eleven, would he shoot me for it?
He's got to serve the public trust. He's got to protect the innocent. But number 3, he's got to uphold the law.
Yeah, and in that, and a dystopia Detroit, maybe he'll kneecap me or something.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, he's going to do something.
Yeah, he'll do something.
He's not going to kill you because he's still Alex Murphy, I feel, somewhere deep down in there.
But, I feel like
they
didn't have time for this, and I'm glad they didn't have time for this, but like he probably has other weapons besides that gun. Yeah. Like he's got to be able to shock somebody. He's a robot. So
I like that it's
got to have a shocking system.
Yeah. I like that they stored it in his leg too. It's like pretty cool.
Yeah, like why not a holster? It's weird. Why do they make it more complicated? It's cooler, but it's more complicated.
I do agree with you though that he needed more weaponry. Like one gun. I mean, it was a pretty badass.
It's a cool gun. It's an iconic gun. Sure.
It's a great gun.
Yeah.
But yeah, he should have had. He also had that spike thing that was more like to read computer powers or whatever, computer things. But I feel personally that he should have had like like a cable that shot out of his arm that could
That's
like
what I was
get
thinking.
people.
Yes, I was thinking like a fist
rope?
detaches from his arm,
Yeah, like
and
Inspector Gadget,
like
kind
a
of thing.
punch. Yeah, like a flying rocket punch.
Oh, dude, that's
right?
like Metal Gear, like
Yeah.
in Metal Gear with the
exactly.
red arm.
That
Yeah,
exactly. Yes.
the Phantom arm.
Maybe I was wondering if you could could you talk your way out of getting arrested by RoboCop? Like, could you throw some paradoxes at him and explode his brain? Or is there still human brain in
So
there?
he's a cyborg, so he's not like, I do think that, a computer is perfectly logical, right?
Yeah.
So which is he more cyborg? Is he more human or more machine? Like from a brain power.
From a brain power perspective, it's probably at best 60-40
I mean,
robot to human.
I mean, he's got brain damage actually.
Yeah.
So it's
But
like,
it's probably worse, but at best 60 robot, 40 human.
can he even reason or logic because he has so much? He was shot in the head.
It's like, can you get into a loop of, you stole this bread? Yeah, but I stole this bread to feed my family. My family would die. Is it really a crime?
Right.
And then you go around in a circle, and eventually he short circuits.
He had to uphold the law, but he also had to protect the innocent. And it's like, if you uphold the law, the guy stole, but he was also protecting the innocent because the guy needed to eat. And, he's got to serve public trust because he can't.
Yeah.
Like, there's probably some type of causality.
Yeah, there's a
loop
loop
in there.
Yeah, I feel like there's got to, and like you could practice this if you know the RoboCop is out there. So like if you ever run into him, it's kind of like, all right, if I ever get caught by the RoboCop, this is what I got to say.
I mean, if you're like a criminal though, and you see this like thing driving a Ford Taurus coming for you, it's like this guy.
Am I taking it seriously? I don't know. If you don't know the lore, you might think it's just some asshole in a suit. And it's not actually a robot. It's like, come on, guy.
I don't know why to me, but like the driving scenes of him just driving around looking for crime.
Yeah, he's looking for crime.
It's
the car. I'm telling you, it's just he should not have been driving that car. They need to give him his own car. It wasn't in the budget. It wasn't in the budget.
Crappiest car, man. It's so lame. Like he just has the roof off.
Yeah. He just has a random like you got the guy threw him the keys. Like, no, you got to make the robot, make the guy the car. Spend an extra $50,000.
This is like, where is Bob Morton at? Like, he should have had a better plan because this thing is a corporation. Like they could have afforded that.
Yeah,
they made Ed 209.
Yeah. If that guy costs what, $20 million, and that's probably cheap. They could have spent $50,000 on a cooler car, right?
Like imagine if he had like a military Hummer, that would be cool too.
Yeah, like $50,000 at 87 goes a long way. The Taurus probably cost $12,000.
He should have had rocket legs too, where he could fly.
Rocket legs.
I mean, like imagine if he didn't even need a
jetpack.
He said a jetpack.
Yeah.
This is clearly the beta version of I'm sure that they probably did all of this in RoboCop 2 and 3, and we're sitting here like saying, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that?
All of his upgrades. Right?
So everybody's sitting here probably listening, and they're like, you idiots. Like he did this.
The sequel.
But we didn't. So like
we'll get to that later, as we say. We'll get to that later.
So you think you could cause a loop, and you think you could outsmart him eventually?
Yeah. Better than outrunning him, because they'll just shoot you in the back. And you'll be paralyzed but alive. It's like the logic of Batman. I didn't kill him.
Yeah.
I didn't kill him. The coma did. I put him in a coma and his family pulled the plug. So therefore, I did not kill him. I'm Batman.
That's true. There you go. You mentioned earlier the scene where he was getting all shot up in the parking garage. And man, even that was like, it was a callback. It was less violent, but still as violent as when he got shot. It was like basically the full military force of the police shooting him all simultaneously, all at once. And he was getting knocked down like over and over and over. And it was brutal. So I have a question for you. You're a big Johnny Five fan.
Absolutely.
What choked you up more? Johnny Five getting beat up by the street gang, or RoboCop getting brutally destroyed by the police force in the parking garage by his own brethren?
Two big differences. One is that RoboCop is a cop. So regardless of what you think, they say it in the movie. You sign up to be a cop.
Yeah, there you go.
There's an inherent risk of what's going on. You might get shot. You might get shot by 50 cops while wearing your bulletproof armor.
He didn't sign up to be a RoboCop, though.
Well, he's already dead, so it's like he's not dead, but he's dead, right?
Second lease on life.
Yeah. But he signed up to be a cop. He's got bulletproof armor on, so he's fine, right? It's
Except
sad, but he's fine. Yeah.
It was sad though.
Yeah. But Johnny Five is is pleading for his life while he's getting beaten by these guys, these thugs. I was like, I'll put that scene on right now. I'll cry.
Man, it is. There's something about a machine that can't defend itself getting beat up that is inherently very sad.
Even though Johnny Five was built to be a war robot, he's not a war robot.
Let's talk a little bit about Clarence Boddicker, Red Foreman himself.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we can't do this movie and not really put him through. Played by Kurtwood Smith, Red Foreman, like we talked about, the cop killer himself. We could say that Dick Jones was the big bad, but he's pulling the strings. He's not really. He's just a corporate overlord. If you're new to the show, we have a villain scale. We put everybody through. It's 4 major categories, a score of 1 to 5 each. The first is his look or style, his or her or their look or style. The second is hideout or lair. The third is the plan. What's their plan for domination and how do they execute it? And then the last one is the henchman. What's their muscle? Do they have any sub-bosses? What do you think of Boddicker, man? And we can put him on the scale here. We'll take him through the categories. His look or style. There's some trivia about this we can talk about in a second, but I didn't think it was very good, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, how did you feel about it being Red Foreman? Like, I know it's pre-Red Foreman, but...
So, I'm not like a huge That 70s Show fan, but I've seen a lot of episodes of it.
Yeah.
It was really hard for me to take him seriously because of that. And it's not his fault, right? This is 1987.
It's such a dominant character in pop culture that it's weird seeing him somewhere else.
And it's like... It's not like, oh, this guy's played a bunch of stuff. Like, that's the only thing that I see him as.
Yeah.
It's like Al Bundy. Like, he's Al Bundy. Like, if the bad guy was Al Bundy, it's like, oh, that's Al Bundy. Like, he is Red Foreman to me. I just, it was really hard for me to take him seriously, and it kind of took me out of it, to be completely honest with you. Like, I didn't find him as menacing.
I agree. It's not fair to him, but I agree.
You can't change what you change, though.
Yeah, he's a good actor. Look and style, pretty generic, right? Like, I feel like for some reason the glasses, I kind of like glasses on a villain, like regular eyeglasses.
Yeah, like nothing like super stylish, like just regular ones. Yeah.
Like there's something that can be evil about that, where it's like you look like a nerd, but you're a cop killer, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's something unassuming about it, like you don't see it coming. Now, I don't know why for some reason, like I felt like I remembered him having a hat on, like a newsy hat.
You said that earlier.
Yeah, I said this before we started. We were pre-noting this, and I was like, and you shot down that rumor real quick. So that did not happen. But I want to have him. I want him to have a newsies hat on. You know what I mean? I don't know what the proper term of that hat is.
You're like the Peaky Blinders one.
Yeah,
like
Peaky Blinders. Yeah,
I know what you're talking
1920s. About. Yeah,
I forgot. I don't know what that hat is.
He should
called.
be wearing that hat.
Yeah,
and he would get more points if he had that hat.
Oh man!
But what else? Like, what do you say? Like, is there anything else?
He had a box van. If we're talking about accessories,
the van was cool. I mean, yeah, but that's.
They had a lot of cool weapons. Like he had those crazy 50 cal like sort of guns that they were firing from the hip. If I shot that gun, the thing would fly out of my hands. You know
that counts. I suppose that counts, right?
So because we got to talk about their accessories. But I saw this piece of trivia. It said that he originally auditioned for the role of Dick Jones, which was the number 2 guy at the company. But he thought that was the role that he got. But then he found out that he was actually going to play Boddicker. So he found out that Verhoeven, who grew up he's Dutch, right? He grew up near the Holocaust. He thought that when wearing glasses, Smith resembled Heinrich Himmler. So Smith agreed with the idea, stating that a bigger, more menacing villain would come across as someone who could be merely outsmarted. Well, his character's glasses made him look smarter and therefore more of a threat. So you're onto something with the glasses.
Yes,
like it makes him smarter.
Yes.
But he didn't have his outfit was like sort of unassuming. He didn't really have much else. Like I don't think we can go more than a 2 on this, honestly.
He was wearing black. He looked badass when he had like the broken lens, and that's kind of like a famous like shot.
Yeah,
of
the
him.
view.
I don't know. The arsenal is impressive. The 50 cal is awesome. His arsenal of 50 cals, which I can't believe he didn't get a shot off on RoboCop. We should have seen RoboCop just deflect the 50 cal. Like we needed to see the power of the suit on that one. They
missed
teased
opportunity.
They teased it, but they never landed a shot. I guess because they were saying it was real. It was a real threat to him, I suppose.
I mean, that thing was like blowing up stores, and they were just shooting random stuff like downtown.
It would have been ridiculous, but also I would have bought it had it just RoboCop just no sold it. That would have been fine. But yeah, I guess we're going 2, right?
It's got to be.
Like I can't see a 3.
It can't be higher. It just can't. Like
if he had the hat, it would have been a 3.
I'll give you the glasses. I'll give you the guns and the cool and the box van. Like the box van's good. But so this next category. So let's go with the 2. The next category is interesting.
Yeah.
Because he's got, it seemed like multiple layers, if you think about it. Like he had a bunch of different places. And he also waltzed into OCP a couple times, just like no big deal. It's like this guy's like a wanted criminal and he's just walking in. And he's, with some mention in the plan, but he's a moron. Like he's just saying all these guys' names. But the hideout and lair, is it that steel mill? Like what would you consider it? Which is pretty badass.
Steel mill, and I think that it's a top notch lair. Anytime that you have a dilapidated or abandoned warehouse or steel mill or factory, that's a top tier. You're starting at a 4.
Like imagine all the places you could hide there.
Yeah,
like that's.
You
that
hide,
is a good place.
You have good junky couches. Good hangout spots.
Get the offices.
You have good spots to hide weapons. If a stupid cop runs in there and tries to get you, you have your hiding spots. Lots of nooks and crannies. Yeah, you're starting at a 4. And I think I'm going to give this a 4. I don't think it's a full-blown 5 because that doesn't have enough defining characteristics.
I agree with you.
But 4 is where we're going, I think.
It's definitely a top-notch layer. Definitely top-notch. Like, first off, they couldn't find it. And then when they did, they couldn't find him.
Yeah. Any abandoned warehouse or factory gets a 4 minimum. Yeah. So, yeah.
Now, this is where I think he's going to lose a lot of points here, his plan. Because I don't really think he has one.
Yeah.
I don't really think he has one. And on top of that, I'm going to add one more comment. He was so reckless in how he carried himself. Like, he just instantly confessed to RoboCop of, I'm working with this guy.
Yeah,
like instantly.
Yeah, I don't know, but how it's a lot. Is it not much different than the Joker? Just watching the world burn. He's really ahead of his time. He's playing Grand Theft Auto, is what he's doing. He's got his run of the city. The city is on fire.
He is,
and he's just going around shooting cops, collecting guns and money.
He's a regular Nico Bellic.
Yeah. So he's really playing real life Grand Theft Auto. And there's something to that where it's like, if your plan is so grand that it can never be completed, then what are you doing? Right?
Yeah.
If his plan is just have a good time and own the city, he's kind of doing that.
Maybe you're right about that.
He had a good run until RoboCop showed up.
Yeah, like who was going to stop him, really?
Yeah. He killed every cop that came across him. To the point where the cops probably were going to stop coming after him.
When RoboCop walked him into the station, like nobody said anything. They were just like, is this for real? Like this dude. And then he spits blood on the guy's like paper. He's like, what's his crime? He's a cop killer. He killed what? At least 32 police officers?
I think they said 32 at least at the time, at the beginning of the movie.
There was Grand Theft Auto, there was larceny, there was rape, there was suspected murder of multiple people on top of the 32 that were confirmed police kills.
Oh, there's unconfirmed bodies for sure.
It was a lot. And then he also was working to, like, his aspirations were good. So he wanted to also then sell, like he was out, right? He was out when he's talking to White, where then he said, I'm done. And then he said, oh, but there's all these guys that they're going to be living in these trailers while we're building up this new city that you can sell drugs to, that you can, go gambling. So he was going to be basically the guy. He was the crime boss.
Yeah. That's sure. That's when your goals get too lofty, that's when you go down.
Maybe you're turning me around on this.
I'm not opposed to giving this guy a 2 or a 3.
Maybe you're right about something. I like the real life Grand Theft Auto. Maybe it should be a 3.
Yeah, because like he was just having fun and he was working.
Yeah, I let's go 3. Let's go 3.
3 it is.
What about his henchmen? So I wrote these guys down. You had Nash,
a lot of them.
Antonowski, who is like the guy. What is up with that guy's hair?
Yeah,
like that guy.
I loved Antonowski.
He was,
I would take him on as a henchman.
Like that guy decided that he was going to rob a gas station, and then he was going to fill up.
Yeah,
like you fill up first, man.
No, but in old Detroit, you don't have to do that. You take what you want.
That guy was so pathetic at the counter, like and For the record, he had the best death in the entire movie, driving through toxic waste and turning into like a Total Recall guy.
Is that what happens though? Like, do we have like scientific confirmation
I don't know.
besides Toxic Avengers?
Because
Like, that's kind of what he acted like
looked
the
like
guy
that.
from Toxic Avengers.
he did.
Like, do we know that's what happens when you get doused with toxic waste?
It depends on what toxic waste you have, I guess.
Just generic toxic waste.
Yeah, the other kind you turn into the Jack Nicholson Joker, I guess. You can throw into Axis Chemicals. Then you had Min, and then you had Cox, who was the guy who showed his Cox.
Yeah,
I think
right.
was the guy, right?
And he had the 6000 SUX.
Yeah, and then maybe you want to call it Ed 209. It wasn't really his, so I don't know if you could count that. But what do you think? So you like these guys?
Yeah, and he had a couple other nameless guys as well to round out. So he had a big crew for sure.
They were good too.
Yeah, I liked him. I did. He's definitely over one for sure. A lot of times guys get ones for having ineffective or non-existent henchmen, but
they lasted to the end too.
Yeah, I'm ready to give this guy a 2 or a 3 for henchmen, just because they had roles. They stood out. They didn't die early. You know,
I kind of want to go 3.
I'm willing to go 3, just the numbers and the diversity.
And to be honest, they took out them in the beginning, like they took them out brutally. Like it wasn't. They were brutal.
I'm a fan of in the beginning of the car chase when the one guy was shot and clearly dying, so they just used his body to throw at the car.
They threw it at the car.
You got to do it, man. I'm sorry.
Took one for the team.
Die a hero. He's gonna die a hero.
He took one for the team.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we should go 3. So let's recap it here. So 2 for look and style, 4 for his hideout and that sweet layer, 3 for plan, and 3 for henchman. Not bad.
It's a strong score. It's a strong score.
12.
I liked him. I liked him as villain.
I feel like, unfortunately, it's working against him as Red Foreman, and I shouldn't hold that against him. It's not his fault.
It's
just
his fault. If you watch this movie before 1998 or whenever 70s show came out, he's just another guy doing a great job.
I guess it's like, if you see that 70s show, you're like, oh my God, is Clarence Boddicker is Eric Foreman's dad?
Your uncle was mind blown.
Yeah, he's probably
to us, it's reversed. It's reversed.
Like, I'm trying to imagine, like, you watch a movie and it's like Screwface is like the sitcom's dad, and it's like, oh my God, it's Screwface from Mark for Death. Like, or Chong Li is like from Bloodsport. Right. It's like, oh my God, Chong Li is this guy's dad.
Chong Li is like the older brother in Boy Meets World. That's crazy.
Meanwhile, like, imagine the scenario where that's the case. Yeah. Chong Li is like Corey Matthews' homeroom teacher, or something. So let's say, all right, so he's all right. He got a 12. And I'm looking at this. So other 12s that we gave on this are Hugo Snyder from 3 Ninjas, Bennett from Commando, Killian from Running Man, Jack Riley from Mighty Ducks, Koopa from Super Mario Brothers, Boddicker. He's just above Dusty Dinkelman from Just Friends.
Yeah.
And he's just below Steppenwolf and Chucky and the Predator. Not bad.
Yeah.
Not
underrated.
Bad at all.
It reminds me of Fouchon a little bit from Hard Target, where it's you don't expect it, but he's an underrated villain.
That guy, what was it? Lance Henriksen. He had a 15. He was really good, and I didn't expect that going in.
He was really good. He had great henchmen too.
He had 5 for henchmen because he had
a top notch henchman.
Pick Van Cleef.
Yeah,
which was awesome.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I was definitely biased against Red Foreman, and you know what? The numbers don't lie. I'll say all in all, I really enjoyed watching this. I was glad you picked it, and I definitely want to do the sequel. I think you said to me, "What I want to do RoboCop so we can do RoboCop 2."
Yes,
and I'm looking forward to watching that. We'll have to do it within the next month or so or something. But
we'll get it out this summer.
I definitely enjoyed it. I don't know. Did it hold up to you?
Yeah, definitely. I honestly I don't remember watching it because it was so long ago that I did watch it. Like maybe I was 18, 19, 20 when I watched it first. So yeah, definitely. I liked it. Would watch again. Looking forward to watching the sequels.
We'll have to see, and please, if you guys want to send us an angry email about all the vehicles that he has in RoboCop 2 or RoboCop 3.
He's got airplanes, he's got jetpacks, he's got jets, he's got motorcycles,
and all the
guns
accessories and all the cool, all the cool guns that he has. Send us an email, thelastropodcast@gmail.com. Tweet right on our Instagram, wherever you can find us on the social channels at The Last Row Pod. Leave a comment on the episode's page at thelastropodcast.com. Facebook, Instagram, wherever, like I said. We'll be back in 2 weeks on Thursday, July 6th. And if you're enjoying the show, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and please consider leaving us a 5-star review. Thanks to everyone that left one so far, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
We'll see.
So if there was a RoboCop, like, shouldn't they have made the girl a cop too? And then it's like there's two,
Oh,
and there's like
partner,
and then there's
partner.
a love interest too, you know?
A monotone,
Yeah.
robotic love interest.
And then maybe we could get a love scene, maybe a robotic love scene.
I mean, it would be very, very.
Would it be like computers talking to each other? Like you get the modem sound?
Yeah, it would be very by the numbers. And I don't know how sexy that would be. How would you make that scene sexy?
It would have to be. I'm just imagining the AOL dial-up sound, like that's the sound.
They can't make